Well, welcome everybody again to another episode of Reason to Believe Africa. I'm joined by Emeritus Professor David Block, who's also the director of Reasons to Believe Africa, and a guest who we had on a podcast a couple of months back in February, Carla Mitchell, who is talking to us live from Shanghai. Hello, Carla, and welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So I received a very exciting press release in my inbox yesterday. Thanks for sharing that. But please tell everybody, what are you doing in Shanghai and what's the breaking news?
So, as you know, for 10 years, I've been working on this project, and we came to Shanghai as it was the China National Space Day, and the China National Space Administration was announcing various projects moving forward, one of which is the Chang'e 8 lunar mission, and they were announcing the selected payloads for this mission. And as Africa2Moon, we had applied to have our radio telescope designed for the lunar surface to be a payload, and we attended the announcements yesterday and we were selected. So we're very excited that we're officially on the list to go to the moon in 2028.
So Carla, for those who don't know, tell us a little bit about Africa2Moon and about this flagship project.
So the hope for Africa2Moon in the long term is to be able to do radio astronomy from the surface of the moon on the far side. We want to deploy 55 instruments, one representing each nation in Africa. But in order to get there, we have to do a technology demonstrator mission. So this mission will be going to the South Pole region of the near side of the moon. That's the side we can see from Earth. And we will be deploying 4 antennas to demonstrate that they work, to test. And hopefully this will be the first radio astronomy array on the surface of the moon, designed and built by Africa. And hopefully it'll do first-time science as well.
Carla, first of all, allow me as Director of Reasons to Believe Africa to congratulate you most warmly, so that of all the different shortlistings, yours being, Africa to the moon, not Europe to the moon or any other, but Africa, the continent of Africa to the moon, won the top prize, as it were, and we are thrilled. The question I have for you is this. At the end of that absolutely marvelous press release was the Latin phrase, ad astra per fidem, which really means to the stars through faith. Now, can you unpack that for me as a leading scientist in space missions, engineer in space missions, but also as a believer in Jesus of Nazareth?
Yes, sure. So I have had many big plans in my life and many challenges in my life. And there comes a point, I think, in both where you have to step aside and you realize that things are not in your control. And there always comes that point that you have to hand over. And I have learned through my life at those points where I remember God and I hand over and go, not me, but you. That's when things start falling into place. And Africa2Moon has really been 10 years of the most amazing serendipitous moments and events that have happened that I couldn't have constructed better myself. And so I feel that if you have faith, you can achieve the impossible, and you can dream big and hope. And I think if you put your life and your plans in God's hands, they often end up way better than you could have even imagined. So through my experience, I just feel that it's important every step of the way in this project to remember that we get there through faith.
I think that's just so awesome, is that you are using your faith moment by moment to emphasize a key point, that one can be a highly creative engineer or scientist and yet hear the still small voice of God. Finally, just before we let you go, can you just tell us a little bit about the mission in terms of, it will be conducting experiments which you can't conduct from Earth The moon, of course, has got no atmosphere. What kind of science results are you exploring or hope to explore in this Africa to the Moon mission, which now will see the light of day as far as launches?
Well, on Earth, we are surrounded by the ionosphere, and that ionosphere reflects radio signals that are less than 10 megahertz in frequency, or even up to 20 megahertz. So this means that on Earth, we have a very limited view of the universe in that frequency range. But once you're outside of the Earth's atmosphere, you're able to observe these frequencies. So that's the science we're looking at the Earth, the sun, looking at the galactic background, which is essentially, in simple terms, the noise we still see from the Big Bang. And so we are looking at all these things, hoping to see new things and do new science that we are physically unable to do on Earth.
I remember the founder of Reasons to Believe, Hugh Ross, was just so excited about this because he knows what can be done in the very, very low frequency domains. And here you are in Shanghai, in China, and it's happening from Africa, 54 scopes going up. I think it's just a stunning achievement. Back to Andy.
Well, Carla, from us here in South Africa, we want to again congratulate you and the entire team. For those who are interested, you can follow the project on the website at Africa2Moon.com, Africa2Moon.com, and there'll be regular updates there. Carla Mitchell, live from Shanghai, thank you for joining us today on Reasons to Believe, and everything of the best. Go well, Carla.
Thank you so much for having me.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you, Carla.
Bye-bye.
So, Dave, as you hear those words from Carla, and as we close this this news broadcast out, just give us your closing thoughts as you reflect on this news and what this means for science, for Africa, and for those of us who acknowledge the work of our Creator.
I really appreciate that question so much, Andy, because Africa's been on the backwater for too long. You know, you regard space missions in terms of the States, in terms of NASA, in terms of Europe, and so on and so on and so on. I think it's extraordinary. I absolutely think it's extraordinary that this mission is going to be designed here in Africa, the Africa to the Moon project. It is an absolute first for the continent of Africa in terms of space missions. And it goes to prove that South Africa's not on the back foot in this regard. You know, this holds. There's going to be multitudes of young people, young minds now, who want to become space scientists on the soils of Africa. And before that was totally impossible. You had to work, say, for NASA or one of the other, ESA or so on. And this is a first, a real first for the continent of Africa. And the way it's blended together, you know, 54 telescopes, 54 countries, one in Africa, it gives me tremendous hope, Andy. In the midst of so much turmoil in the world today, it gives me the greatest degree of hope that we've got minds in Africa to send missions to the moon. And this has the vastest of implications to our leaders of tomorrow as well. So sitting here thinking about the importance of Africa to the moon, it's Africa to the moon. And I think 20 years ago, you or I, Andy, could never have thought we could think USA to the moon or so on. But Africa to the moon is an absolute first.
David, thank you so much. And a real joy to be able to chat to you and to Carla again. So until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.